So we're lucky to have another bright, clear day. So I thought we'd get out and make our way down to Crazy Horse in Bury St Edmunds. I haven't been down there for about 8 years or so, so it'd be interesting to see where it's any changes. So we're getting the bike ready and we'll be on our way. There's still a little bit of dampness. The amount of rain that we've had is phenomenal. Anyway, we'll get cracking, as they say. So there's been some discussion in the press about whether or not you can go touring on a small capacity bike. Well, of course you can. You can go touring on any size bike. I've done it years ago on a 125. So a bike of 350, 500 is quite capable of being able to go touring. Depends what your expectations are, of course. And most bikes will do, as will the Himalayan, it will do 70 plus, 75. On a good run it'll probably do 80, but it will cruise at 60 mile an hour, 2 up, full luggage, no problem at all. And I've been on the motorway and I've actually overtaken traffic at 70 mile an hour. It's no big deal. So quite capable machine. The other thing is the comfort, and you want a bike that's going to be fairly comfortable, and that brings us into a different sort of discussion, because take the Himalayan for instance. It's when you sit on it, it's a full-size bike. It feels like a full size, if you like, machine. It's fairly heavy, so it's planted on the road. You don't get pushed about a lot by wind or camber and so forth. It stays put pretty well. And the suspension, again, on the Hemi, the suspension is absolutely brilliant. I've been on other Royal Enfields and they feel as though they have hardly any suspension whatsoever. And of course you'd find over a distance that's going to be a bit well, gyrating to say the least, whereas the Hemi gives you a nice smooth ride, and I can ride on the bike for 2 hours or more, no problem. So yes, very capable of being able to go touring on a small capacity or smallish capacity bike. But if you want to go along and you're wanting to do silly speeds, it depends what you want. So it's all down to personal taste, but it's possible. Hate it when roadworks, I have road closed and it's not. We've just gone through it. I mean, that is just damned annoying. I was just wondering whether any of you out there take the Motorcycle Sport and Leisure magazine. It used to be known as Motorcycle Sport and it had a red cover, and it goes back well into the 60s. I used to buy it back then in the day, but it's in its latest in carnation. It's called the Motorcycle Sport and Leisure. They put the leisure on the end of it and changed the look of the outside of the magazines, I suppose, to bring it more up to date. But in the last issue that I've just read, which is the March issue, Maynard does an article in the centre spread. Then you can always tell because the pages are a sort of brown colour, and it's reminiscing. It's called Back in the Day. And as I say, I used to take the magazine, and one of the things in the article going back, I'm not quite sure what year this was, it's gone back, 1991, so it's still written back in 1991. Anyway, Mr. Maynard does a piece in there, and he was looking at a book that was done by E.M.G. Stevens, and the book was called Know Thy Beast, and it was reviewed by Titch Allen. Now Titch was the chap who started or one of the few guys that started the the Vintage Motorcycle Club many moons ago. Nice guy. I had the pleasure of meeting him twice at the Bewley Motor Museum back in would have been around the mid 60s. Anyway, he's done a review of this book. As I say, it's called Know Thy Beast, and the book was more or less the Bible for Vincent owners of the time. Good read, lots of information and so on, but it's just the, as I say, Know Thy Beast. It's the difference between knowing your bike and it becoming almost a part of the family. And as Titch says here, the bike constantly provides me with interesting challenges as character. If it doesn't, I rate it as bland. That's a good point. And if you can accept what I believe to be the greatest truth of life, which is the more you put into a relationship, the more you get out of it. And it follows that a similar rule applies to inanimate objects like bikes. Mind you, in the case of a bike, you can have too much of a good thing. And coming back to the Vincent, is unquestionably the most charismatic bike of its time. Some would say of all time. It was a bike that had one or two flaws, but the things that shone out, it was before its time, in areas of brilliance that were the main within areas of DIY enthusiasts could work on the machine and get more out of the machine. And I think back in the day you had to know a little bit about your machine to maintain it and keep it in good fettle. And I feel that way to a certain extent with the Hemi, because it's a bike that I can work on, or practically anybody can work on, and it gives you a certain amount of pleasure and knowledge and so forth, rather than just getting on a machine, pressing the button I know it's going to go, and it's sounding like a sewing machine. I don't like particularly high revving sewing machine type machines. But then I'm showing my age.
England's green and pleasant land.
But yeah, I wonder if any of you read that particular magazine. So it's the Motorcycle Sport and Leisure. Well worth a read. I recommend it. Okay, back into the journey.
Wow, look at that.
That is a bad beast.
Well, I made it. We're at Crazy Horse.
Now maybe that's the size of bike that I need. Who knows? Well, we've come upstairs to the cafe. Gonna get a nice steaming hot coffee and a bacon roll. We've had a look round, quite enjoyed it. Sat on a couple of bikes, see what we think, and as I say, finished my coffee and then we'll be getting on our way.
Right, well, that's Crazy Horse. Had a coffee and a bacon sandwich. Anyway, interesting. Have a look around some of the bikes. Still got some fairly exotic bikes there, but not like they used to be years ago when it was nearly all custom bikes. And talking to the guy there isn't the money now to stick with trying to do custom bikes. Lovely, back out on the open road again. We're going 40 miles an hour. Might be breaking the speed limit.
So, we've had a really nice day. Nice run down and a nice look round Crazy Horse and a look at a few bikes and even sat on one or two as well. So, interesting, but we're getting well on our way back now and looking to the future. The next video will include the fitting of a different silencer to the bike, so we'll see how it performs and how it sounds, but that's coming up on the next video. So stick around. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe, and you'll get notification as and when this comes out. So hopefully catch you all then. Until then, we'll get back on with the ride getting back.